Hello, and welcome to the Radically Embody Love Podcast with myself, Jessica Falcon, and my co host, Nasrin Barbic. We're excited to talk with you today about tools to navigate change because there's so much change happening in the world. And we're both hearing from our clients and people around us that there's a lot of change happening. Relationship changes, job changes, health changes, you name it. And we want to provide some concrete, practical tools and wisdom that you can apply to your life as you're going through change. Because what I often see is when people go through change, they get even more involved in the external world and what's happening and all the to-do list and trying to take care of things. And that is normal, especially in society, but that is not the most helpful thing to do. And in fact, the most helpful thing you can do, in my experience, is to really intentionally create as much time and space as possible to anchor into yourself and your inner world, which will help you navigate change much more easily because you won't be pulled in all the directions. You create that centering within yourself so you can be clear. You can process your emotions as they're happening, which will affect how you talk and speak and the choices that you make. So we'll talk a little bit more about how to do that. But that is like such a key in this. And I think in general, whenever we're really busy in life, it's easy to just like put self-care on the last thing on your to-do list, but that is when it's even more important to make it a priority. Like first thing in the morning, you can't miss it, right? Like you schedule it first thing in the morning, you do it either before you eat breakfast, right after, and center. So, Nas, what about you?
Yeah, Jessica, that's, one of the key teaching of Buddha is impermanence. And the reality that change is a constant, universal aspect of our life. So, but even though I think we logically all know the change is part of our life, the season changes, sun rises, and we have changes in our body constantly. We have all kind of change around us, but yet we have a hard time with change. Mm-hmm. And the reason for it, one is I think we're just attached to what is. And it gives us a sense of, I have to say, illusion of safety and security, that unknown is scary. Even though the transformation is part of change, right? So we're constantly changing, but yet the fact that the other side of the change is unknown always, right? Because we are going towards it. And our nature wants that security and safety, even though where we are might not be the best place to be, and we might know it, but just to make that change and transition is scary. So just having that knowledge that change is a universal human experience. We all go through it, right? So we all have these experiences in our life, and just that knowledge might help us to go through it a little bit more ease, and knowing that it is totally normal to be fearful. That just comes from, part of us that wants security and safety. And that knowledge by itself can help us to move through it with ease, with acknowledging, what am I feeling right now? I know there's lots coming in my life. Things are changing. How is my body feeling? How are the thoughts in my head are changing? Most likely they're getting more chattery when we are going through the change, but just sitting with it, as you said, just to give ourselves time to adjust with everything that is happening in our lives. And You mentioned this is, I think we're all going through a transition. The whole world is right now in flux, right? There are lots happening for all of us. And just to allow ourselves to, first of all, as you mentioned, take care of ourselves. What do we need? Maybe we need to cut down the news more than before, right? Maybe we need to go and spend more time in nature. Maybe we need to just go back to our own cave to just take care of ourselves. Whatever we need to do is something that we need to be mindful to how can we help ourselves through these changes.
I love that you brought up, right, all the fears that we face in the midst of the change, because it's uncomfortable. And if you just accept that change is uncomfortable, it's going to be a lot easier than trying to make yourself comfortable in the midst of change, because the less that you attach to what was and release those identities, release the past, grieve the past, give yourself time to grieve the loss. Anytime we have change, we're going to feel loss of something. And if you're not giving yourself that time to grieve that loss, your body is going to feel more fatigued. You're going to feel more overwhelmed because your nervous system is clogged with the unprocessed emotions. You're going to feel probably more bitter and angry because you're not giving yourself that space. So your body is going to tell you, listen to your body, listen to its cues, allow yourself to rest more in the midst of change. Really nourish yourself, because sometimes, we can reach for the unhealthy things, or a lot of people reach for more alcohol or drugs or other distractions from the discomfort of change. It is not the most helpful thing to do. I'm not saying don't enjoy a glass of wine. That could be a very pleasurable thing to do. But if you're reaching for it to numb the pain or to avoid your experience, you're literally just suppressing it and creating more tension and dis-ease in the body. And so instead, doesn't mean you still can't have that glass of wine. Maybe take a few deep breaths, center into your body, do a little dance, let yourself emote and sound and feel. And then, okay, I'm clear. I'm not reaching for this to get rid of anything. Now it's purely for pleasure, right? Or whatever that thing is for you, allowing yourself to emote first. And one thing I wanted to really touch on that you said around the fears is we are going to have fears in the middle of change, because we're going into something, we're letting go, and we're going into something new. We don't know yet. So it's going to feel fearful to the mind. And what is so important when you face these fears, one thing is is this even real? Like, is this fear even real? Because it could just be some idea or experience from the past. But when you actually look at the fear, like in the eyes, and you might go, well, I'm saying this thing, but it's not even possible or not even real. And look at it, like really be curious about the fear. A lot of people are going through transformation right now that is triggering deep soul wounds. So this is an opportunity for you to reclaim your power from that wound, from that experience, from that past thing. And the more you can spend time with the fear, the less power it's going to have over you. You're going to be able to sleep better. You get rid of the anxiety. You get rid of the worry, right? And you just allow the fear to inform you about how you can bring your power back and choose more consciously without letting that imprison you in the fear. Really allowing yourself, giving yourself permission to take that time to explore it, because it's so easy. We're told, like, don't feel fear, or, just power through it. I think there's a lot of wisdom in our fear.
Yeah.
When we sit down with it.
Mm-hmm. A couple of things that you said that I do want to emphasize. One, that you mentioned grief is so important. Even if you want the separation from your partner, the divorce, for example, the fact that you had years, maybe, whatever that, with someone, and you share a life. It is so important. That's my own experience, that when I realized, I'm like, what is it that I still have a hard time with? It was the fact that I was not willing to grieve because I wanted that, but then I didn't recognize that it doesn't matter if I wanted or not. I needed to grieve what I wish it was that it wasn't. That's why it came to the end. What I was hoping our future together will be, which it will not be. All of those that are passing, I need to grieve the fact that it's never going to be what I thought or I hoped it's going to be. And that really helped me to finally just let go, because there's still part of you that is attached to that dream that you had, because nobody gets in relationship thinking about, oh, someday I'm going to get, we all go with like dreaming the future together. And here's this ending. It's so important for us to really grieve what it could have been, what didn't happen, so we can move on in a really way that we can transform and our relationship with ourselves and with our next partner. So that's one thing you mentioned that I thought, oh yeah, that's totally something worth, emphasizing how important that is. And then the second thing is, as you were talking about fear, I'm like, yeah, the fear is fear of losing control, right? Because the known, even though, I always want to say, it's not perfect. We even know that it's not good for us, but we feel that we can handle it because we already been in it. And no matter how hard it is, we know how to deal with it, right? But that unknown, it makes us feel that we're going to lose control. We no longer know how to behave. We no longer know how to feel because we don't know the end result of that change. And I think just being mindful of this is totally normal. Everything I feel like this day, like when I make it normalized, it's not only easier for me to go through it. And when I tell my clients, it's like, that's totally normal experience. Fear is, we say it's illusion, but it's part of our experience. But when we shed a light on it, then it loses its grip on us, And asking is like, what is the belief underneath that causes me to fear? That's so important to examine this. Is it the fear that I would never find the right person again? Is it the fear that I can handle life by myself? Like, what is going deeper? Because there's always a root cause is a belief that causes us to feel the anxiety and the belief, right? That fear. And then say, is that really true? Question it. Is it true that I can never find the right person? Is it true that I can never find a job like this before? And most likely you get to it that, no, it's not true. And then that can give you some ease and, for you to move forward. But no matter what kind of change we're going, we need to honor ourselves through that process so we can get through it with ease.
And the fear, as you're saying, what I'm also hearing underneath that desire, or the fear really of losing control, is not feeling safe, right? And whether it be, okay, now that I'm not married, I'm not going to feel as financially secure. That comes up a lot. I hear that a lot. Or I'm going to be all alone. The fear of being alone because I'm not going to feel safe. I'm not going to feel loved. There's so much, right? And beginning to create that safety for yourself, which is a whole episode in itself, really. So we can't go deep into that today to keep this at 30 minutes is our goal. But, to start to really take care of yourself, take care of your emotions, to love yourself and have that compassion for yourself through what's coming up for you, and do the inner work to create that safety, whether that be emotional safety, physical safety, mental safety? What are your beliefs about this? And if that has been a pattern in your past, it doesn't mean it's going to be your future. So doing the inner work to create that shift on an energetic level, so expanding your capacity to receive, or facing the fear of being alone and creating that internal belonging and connection that really heals that feeling of being alone. And also the more you, especially if you know you're going to be experiencing change that hasn't happened yet, start doing small things to create that nervous system stability. For example, when you go to your favorite coffee shop or tea shop, order something you've never ordered before. Sit in a different spot in yoga class. Talk to someone you never talked to before. Go to a new place. Order something else off the menu. Buy a vegetable you've never heard of. Cook a new recipe. Those things, the way you create change in small ways, literally start to adapt the nervous system. Because what we're really talking about is the nervous system that doesn't feel safe and wants to cling and goes into fight, flight, freeze, fawn, all these different states. And often during change, it can freeze of like, I don't know where to go. Well, what is that? Freeze is not breathing. And so if you can breathe into the discomfort, into the fears, be with them, but also, okay, we'll start to create other forms of change in your life, very small ways to prepare your system for the bigger change.
Yeah. And the key is mindfulness. Be mindful and be aware when you're going through these changes. And when you see you're triggered, don't indulge in that virtual story that you create in your head. The moment you notice you're in this story, now you're going, oh, poor me. What's going to happen to me? How is my life going to evolve and change? And all the thing, just the moment we notice it, is the moment for us to come back to our breath, come back to that awareness that let me just breathe here. Let me just give myself a chance to align my mind and body. And by that, I mean, it's like most of the time when we are triggered, our mind is either in past or future, and our body is always here in the present moment. And when we notice we are not in alignment, all we need to do, take a minute to just pay attention to our breath, because our breath is always happening in the now moment, to just bring us to now. And then again, we can just pay attention and say, okay, what's going on? And can I just be with it? Can I just be and allow it to be without freaking out? And can I just give myself a chance to just look at it and process it and let it go? Because until we do that, it'll keep coming back, right? Like we need to give ourselves a chance to sit with it because the more we push it away and suppress it, the harder it gets. So it's like, I can do this. I can handle this. Can I just sit with it and see what needs to be show up in this experience? And what is the message? What is the wisdom wants to show up in here?
And get support, because maybe it is too much for you to handle alone. Maybe it is, you're like, I'm drowning. I don't know where to turn. I'm overwhelmed by the emotions. I'm overwhelmed by the fear. Get support, whether it be a guide, a coach, a therapist, whatever that is for you. Get support. Call your friend. Ask if you can have a support network. Do whatever that is to take care of yourself. And taking care of yourself includes asking for help. And I know that's not always easy in this society that's like, do everything on your own and you're supposed to be able to handle it all. But that's not human reality. We are animal creatures that desire connection and community and support. So reach out and allow yourself to receive, because so often receiving is a huge medicine that we really need.
That's such a great advice, that we don't have to go through anything alone. We can always seek support. even as you mentioned, in the phone call to a friend can help us. And the other aspect of that, again, you mentioned is, which I know I had to work on it, is not only I don't have to go alone and I can seek support, but I need to know what I need. I need to be able to communicate that. Like sometimes you don't even know, because if you're not in touch with yourself, with your body, you just need, you know that you're seeking something, but you're not very clear what can help you, right? So it's like trying to give yourself the chance to even journal and write down. It's like, just ask, what do I need right now to make me feel a little bit better? Is it at a phone call? Is it talking to someone, reading a book, getting help from a coach, therapist? What do I need? And honor that, whatever it shows up, or as we mentioned, where can I be right now that I can feel more at ease? Maybe it's in nature. I always say that because that's my place.
Mine too.
It's like whenever I need that, I did the calm, and I want like my body feel like, in a way, very safe, that I can receive more guidance, is I go to nature, especially if I can be near water, right? To see them, listen. It's like, oh, such a great place to just be at ease and receive, right? But the other aspect that you said is really important. Be willing to receive. A lot of us are being give, and we are not in a habit of allowing ourselves to receive, which again comes back to the belief that, unfortunately, we are not worth what we wanting and needing, and having other people take care of us can be a scary thing. I know it was for me. So all of this to say, we are worth it. We need to take the time for ourselves, honor ourselves, ask for help, whatever we need to do to take care of ourselves. And no, we are not alone. We're all going through a transition. The world is right now in chaos in so many different ways that can add to our own personal experience and changes that we're going through. And there's going to always be unknown. And then keep that in mind. That's just part of a journey of being human.
I love what you shared about creating a note of and asking yourself, what do I need? And writing it down. And I want to add to that, it made me think, what about writing down a list of all the things that bring you joy and pleasure, and then adding that to your schedule, to your week? Because again, we can get so wrapped up in the change and the transformation and the loss that we forget, well, nourishing yourself is going to be a huge support as you go through it. So yeah, listen to this again if you want to make notes of how you can really support yourself as you navigate change. I hope that these tools that we provided are supportive to you, to even hear, to remind you, oh, what are these ways that I can take care of myself more and honor my needs more and give myself pleasure? Because that pleasure, that juiciness, that aliveness, that taking care of yourself is going to be exactly what gets you through it on the other side, in a much more powerful place, because it's happening for you, and it's happening so that you can see what you need to see, to shift what you need to shift, to be fully in your power. It's happening for you. And I almost forgot, but I want to mention I have a new free gift to create internal safety at thepathtosovereignty.com. So I wanted to mention that because it might be helpful for those of you going through change. And anything else that you want to share or announce before we sign off for today?
No, I think just the only thing I want to say is that reach out whenever you feel that you need guidance. We are here for you. We always want to hear from you. And if you're listening to an episode and you benefit, most likely somebody else can benefit too. Think about one friend or someone who is going through a life changing and this information can benefit, and pass it forward, right? And share it with others. We appreciate you listening. We appreciate your comments, and we do want to hear from you.
Thanks for being here. Bye.
Bye.